Because normally when I speak, I don't need a script because when I'm doing experience, strength, and hope, I know that story. That's my own. But when it comes to much more detailed subject matters and concepts, I think I need some references and basically to go with that. So yeah, so I have 15, 20 minutes to share. Is that all right? Okay, so it sounds good. Yeah, first of all, let me just introduce myself. My name is Jonathan. Um, Basically, I served as the DCMC for San Mateo District 5 as 2 months ago. I'll tell you that more to share why I stepped down. But I've been in general service for a while. I used to live in Oakland. That's how I got involved, and I used to be part of Palo. And so that's I met Nick over here, but I met Chase in Oakland as well. So I'm very happy that get to be here and share with you guys. And I've been to this group before. I just never been to the Thursday one, so it's nice to participate in this breakout room. But yeah, enough about me. All right, let's just talk about concept 11. I think the first thing we'll just do is just go straight into it. Now, this is I was nervous about concept 11 because this is perhaps the second largest one for it. So quite a hefty amount, right? And so what I'll do is let's just read it together, and then we'll just break down what it is. Now, a lot of it, who's in general service, by the way, or in part of, right? Yeah. Okay, I got it. All right. So there's some stuff that might relate, there's some stuff that might not. So we'll just try to tie it all together, how it's applied to my life. And yeah, so let's start with it. While the trustees hold final responsibility for AA's World Service Administration, they should always have the assistance of the best possible standing committees, corporate service directors, executives, staffs, and consultants. Therefore, the composition of these underlying committees and service boards, the personal qualifications of their members, the manner of their induction into service, the systems of their rotation, the way in which they are related to each other, the special rights and duties of our executive staffs and consultants, together with a proper basis for financial compensation of these special workers, will always be matters for serious care and concern. So yeah, that's quite a mouthful. But let's pretty much kind of just break it down. Pretty much the service structure of general service, right? The people inside of it, and from what I see, from getting this, the people inside of it, the relationship they have, their qualifications are what matters. It's to be taken seriously for an effective organization to have. Now you can apply that to any organization besides GSO. But pretty much the thing about this is that it's also a spiritual principle, right? And so kind of like what we're talking about here. So let's just break down some of the things that have said. So like for example, the phrase "the best possible," right? Bill, kind of say like, you didn't say like, is anybody available or willing, right? Even it said specifically the best possible, right? That's the standard we're trying to go for. And you can apply it to pretty much how we do service, right? There's the willingness, right, to do it, right? Are you available? That's part of it. But the willingness, and it matters, but pretty much for a larger organization and the fellowship, it deserves much more preparation, a follow through, and actually the qualifications of the role that you're taking, right? And so why does that matter? Well, the thing is that the general service board with all the trustees, even though it says right here, the trustees have the final responsibility. They're supported by a number of people to inform them what to do, right, with matters of AA in general, right? And there's a lot of standing committees. In the service manual, it mentions a nominee committee, a finance committee, and budgetary, public information, literature, and general policy. They're all direct responsibilities that kind of are all these different committees with different ideas and how things should go to support the trustees, right? And so when you think about that, right, there's a lot of tasks involved pretty much with those committees, right? The finance and budgetary committee, obviously that's to manage resources, financial resources, right? The literature committee, headed by Teddy, right? Basically, right, they're responsible for stewarding how AA's message is carried, right? Particularly in books and with this upcoming 5th edition coming out, which is very exciting. right? The public information, that's the one that's building the bridges to the outside world. So there's a lot of professionals that are telling other people, hey, there is a resource. If you guys are having trouble with alcohol, here's a resource. There is AA, right? And these are pretty much our therapists, our doctors, our judges, right? And those kind of things, right? And so, yeah, and then there's general policy, right, which is protecting pretty much the integrity of how AA operates, right? So these are kind of other committees. Now, I'm not entirely sure, there's way more committees. If you guys see the agenda topics, right, there's way other more. But pretty much for this one, I'm just going to relate to how these. But each one, if you can imagine, with each committee, they each require different people with different knowledge, different set of expertise, professionalism, gifts, different capacities to do work, right? And the committee has the same voice all around, but when you tie it all together to our trustees, it's how we all work together that pretty much informs how we make the decisions moving forward. We can't just make this stuff all by ourselves, right? You need a full range of people pretty much committed to the work, having the different gifts and specialities and experts and knowledge, right? For example, for the trustees, I don't know if you guys know, there's two types of trustees. There's the Class A, which is, we call it the amateur, because there's 7 of them. They're not us drunks, right? Which I always thought like, oh, I thought A would be alcoholic, but yeah, there's 7 of them. And then there's the Class B, which is the boozer, which is us, basically, right? There's 14. And there's pretty much that, from what I understand, there's that 2-to-1 ratio, just because it's a kind of a balance, basically. The people who are in AA get to choose, but they still have insight from other people who are not necessarily alcoholics, but they still have special gifts. So you see this back and forth. We're all working together to inform how we make the decision. It's interesting. It's kind of like you get a full range of people, but it can be a very fragile structure. And so pretty much one of those pieces, if it's understaffed or you're not supported financially, that's gonna topple, right? And so there's another part pretty much that talks about even more, which is paid workers get compensated. And I like how pretty much in this workbook illustrated part, it says, if you pay peanuts, you'll get ... which I guess is peanuts. Another, yeah, that's it. Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, I'll try to figure that out. Okay, thank you for confirming that. Another phrase I've used before in my personal life is, you buy cheap, buy twice, basically. And I've done that, basically, especially with cycling, which I got obsessed about, but that's a whole nother thing. But yeah, it's pretty much, Bill said that pretty much like paid workers in AA deserve a fair compensation and clear expectations, right? And so that they can pretty much have the ability to do their work, right? And be compensated for it. I know money is always a touchy subject matter, but pretty much for something this large at GSO and this concept, I think it's very important, right? And then basically, another thing was about the induction and rotation part that it talked about here. How we bring the people in and how they rotate out and we let them go as part of the service structure and the integrity of our service structure. You've seen it before, right? It's not that Chase is not going to be the secretary of Thursday, love and service for forever, right? It rotates out, and yeah, we've all experienced that, and that's it's just not a rule. It's a spiritual principle that's based in our humility, right? Basically, it's not that no one's irreplaceable or no one's more important. It's that we're all equal, and AA belongs to everybody, not just one single person. And that's the beauty about it. When I stepped down as the DCMC, I still did the tradition, which is do not contact anybody in my district for 6 months, I think. I know some people do a year or something like that. And that's because I don't want to interfere with how they're doing their thing. The replacement DCMC, I didn't want her to get interfered with my influence at all. So I kind of like, I did no contact. I took it so seriously that I do not know what the agenda topics are. I forwarded it, but I didn't read it. But then I did, and I was like, oh, I'm excited about it, what you guys get to talk about this Saturday. How much time do I have left? I kind of just I feel like I went over a lot.
You have 10 minutes.
Oh man, that's it? I only spoke for 5? Wow. Because yeah, basically that's the gist of the concepts, right? About like the whole service structure, but let's then use the next 10 minutes about how in ways that I've experienced it, I just didn't know at the time. But the stuff that I talk about with the spiritual principles of we're all in this together, people with different abilities and special gifts and insight and knowledge, how we all work together to promote this system that serves the primary purpose, right? How do we help the alcoholic who still suffers? So I'm gonna give you some examples pretty much in my past. And just because I'm nostalgic, on the way over here from East Palo Alto when I was driving over the East Bay, I was like, man, I miss the East Bay. Because I used to live in Rockridge, Oakland. And yeah, like I said, I used to come to Pleasant Hill. I've been to this meeting, a few times. And I was like, I want to go talk about a nostalgic experience I had 2 years ago, which was the Wacky Paw. I know that I think a few years back, I think the chairs got to speak, I think, at the main meeting. I remember because I got to attend that, which was cool. And so the thing about the Wacky Paw was that it was during the time when people were starting to come out of COVID. And so I don't know if you knew about this, but like because Wacky Paw was put on hold for like 18 months. It's supposed to be a yearly thing, but pretty much they held that position for 18 months. And it was the first conference, Wacky Paw Conference, which stands for the Western Area Conference of Young People of Alcoholics Anonymous, serving the whole Western, even Mexico and Canada, right? It was the first time coming back, right, from the pandemic. And, how do you do this? And here's the thing, I joined the committee only 6 months before the whole committee got started. So I joined in as a position called the bid cities. That's the other cities that want to come in and put their bid for the next Wacky Paw. I was in charge of talking with them, trying to take care of them, kind of be like liaison, like, here's all good, here's what you guys gonna do, here's how you bid, basically. And I did that part. But you gotta imagine, there's the chair, there's the vice chair, there's the people who gotta book the hotel, there's the people who gotta do those dances. People love the dances, You gotta be in charge of the people who has the program, which is pretty much, you don't want to just hang out. You want to go to actual sessions with speakers just like this, right? And how do you maintain that pretty much 24/7 over the course of, it was a 4-day thing because it went into New Year's. And so, yeah, same thing with the concept of 11. A lot of people, a lot of experiences, personalities, for sure personalities, and the complex, but they also brought in their expertise, their knowledge, their commitment, and like we're all in this together kind of feeling. I remember going into it, it's like, oh my God, I don't think anybody's gonna come to Wacky Paw. They're gonna lose a bunch of money. They owe $20,000 for the bill or something like that. The entertainment show was freaking out. I was kind of freaking out just because, I was like, so, but here's the thing that happened. 750 plus people came, and like a ton of people just showed up. And then we had the New Year's dance there for the East Bay. Normally it'd be like Norman doing it in Oakland or something, but like he decided to do it over there. And then more people came in, and it was a beautiful thing. And I just remember that whole weekend being like in such spiritual gratitude that I got to be in service, not with myself, but so many other people that were like-minded of us, all different places of our sobriety, had all these different goals and qualifications, but we all came together and worked out. Incredible experience. Fast forward to general service. Now I'm the DCMC. I don't know why I did that. No. It was because Chitra and Eric, who's the outgoing delegate, they told me, like, hey, you should put your hat in for DCMC. And I was like, okay, fine, I trust you guys. And it was a beautiful experience. I'm very happy I did it. But the thing was, it was a very crazy time because here comes January, I'm elected, right? Got to start all the meetings. And then find out, oh, you guys got to host a conference, you guys got to host an assembly in May, basically, the post-conference assembly, which is happening, next week. And I was like, wait, what? Nobody told me this, And so pretty much we had to do it with San Francisco, but it was only 4 people. Now imagine with the conference, it was like 30 plus, but with 4, we were trying our best, but we were struggling to find like volunteers and, get more help, and we're kind of doing things on the spot kind of thing. And looking back on it, I was like, oh man, I wish we had more people involved. We decided to keep it closed. I guess it was not for nefarious reasons, but that's how it was, right? It was just the DCMC, the chair for one of this districts, and the equivalent for San Francisco. And it ended up working out, but it was really stressful. It was so stressful that I even forgot I could not even attend the assembly because I committed to go to New York City to attend my sister-in-law's graduation. And I was being stressed the heck out. And so those were things where my ego was trying to get in the way, this lack of humility. Like I want to be in control of everything, but I can't. And these kind of things went forward. Fast forward to pretty much in November of last year. And I did pretty much closing in on a year of DCMC work and stuff like that. A personal thing happened in my life, basically. My wife's and I first dog we had for 4 years. We bought her as a puppy. We raised her for 4 years. I taught her how to do paw and sit, and this thing that was part of my life. I never knew I could like love something, a dog, and let alone a person. I couldn't have the capacity when I got sober. Like, how do you love myself? But yeah, long story short, after Thanksgiving, my family came over pretty much from Hawaii. And it was just a busy time and I was distracted. I left the door open as we went out to go around to the park and play golf or something like that because my brother-in-law wanted to play golf. And we came back and she ran away and we couldn't find her. So for the next months, we tried to do our best, signs, Facebook ads, door to door, everything you could to try to figure out where she is to find her. She was microchipped and everything. But during that time, I went through deep depressive grief, basically. And then with that, my spiritual principles ran out the door. I became, tense, bitter, resentful, anger, blaming myself. That blame went to my wife. That blame went to my family who was visiting. I was a wreck. In the meantime, I had to continue to do the DCMC stuff. And then I remember in January, we were supposed to plan for the next agenda topics workshop for San Francisco and San Mateo to plan the workshops for DSRs to learn how to do agenda topic sharing. And I just flipped out, basically. I said, I can't, I'm sorry guys, I cannot do this. I'm still in grief about my dog. It's been affecting my marriage. And so I realized pretty much that I could not serve the role as DCMC, especially during this massive, busy time for them. Because remember, it's an inverted triangle. They're my boss, not the other way around, right? And so as a worker, as a special worker, I could not participate functionally in my head while I'm going through this thing. And my marriage was beginning to fall apart. My wife was 3 months pregnant when when the dog left. She's still pregnant now, but yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to say it like that. My pregnant wife was, she pretty much, it was not a good time for us. And so I remember calling Drew, was like, hey, I have my service sponsor, Sarah, the recording secretary for the area. Yeah, sorry, I just cannot do this. I got to step down. So I began the process of the transitioning out. I didn't do a good job telling everybody. Chase didn't know. I kind of just assumed everybody else would say some stuff, but I think they were respecting my privacy. So I was like, oh, whoops, sorry, I didn't. So it was a thing where I had to kind of realize that I can't control everything. I'm not going to micromanage things, and especially I'm not going to do that when I'm going through my own stuff for these GSRs for my district, and I'm not going to be a good worker because I can't. And so these are the things I kind of just want to tell you about how these apply with Concept 11. We were in service because we want to, make ourselves better. We want to serve the alcoholic who still suffers. But there's a lot of spiritual principles in growth. And I think that taking the humility and taking a step back and realizing my triangle got really lopsided. I was like really into the service and the unity, but the recovery was, I need to go back and to recover there. So now, what it's like now, pretty much, is that my service is more back to the groups now. So it's a lot easier to be a DCMC. Sorry, it's a lot easier to be a treasurer for your local A group than it is to be a DCMC. So I'm doing like that. Still going to meetings, still, participating. And then, for example, like this, I love being, in service. not just because I'm not in the general service and, not in, this role of DCMC or stuff like that, doesn't mean that I'm not as useful to AA. I think I'm getting more useful now because I'm in a better place. It's just different now. And so I think with that, I'll continue being a part of that. Because, like in Concept 11, we're all in this together. And we're all part of this greater whole, and we're all kind of doing these different things and different perspectives and areas. But AA is not for one person, it's for all of us. And I think with that, I'm gonna shut up now. So yeah.